now available in paperback and e-readers. Spellbound, a darker shade of black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. One of my viewers wanted me to talk about the importance of getting a high school diploma over a GED. And she wanted me to talk about this topic because she sees a lot of these teachers and guidance counselors steering young black children towards getting GEDs instead of getting their high school diploma. Now, this is something I saw back when I was in high school in the late 80s, and this is a topic I can really relate to because I had to do a 5th year of high school in order to get my high school diploma. So I know how valuable a high school diploma is over a GED, and I know that you just have to hang in there and keep fighting in order to get that high school diploma. Now, what really makes it hard for a kid to get a high school diploma is the fact that many of your public junior high schools do a poor job of preparing kids for high school. Now, in these junior gladiator academies, most kids have no support system, and many kids wind up having to navigate a war zone of these dysfunctional individuals who are hopped up on hormones and are just completely out of control. So it's very hard for a kid to really learn anything in that type of hostile environment, and that can lead to a lot of kids not really getting the essentials that they need once they graduate junior high school and transition into high school. So a lot of kids start out on a weak foot like I did when I went to IS 148 back in 1985 to 1987, and when we try to transition into high school, that's when we start to have problems because we don't have a good foundation, especially in math and science, and some don't have a good foundation in English and grammar, and that weak foundation makes it very hard when you start high school. And when you enter into the high school system, many of the administrators, teachers, and counselors are expecting you to be ready to take on the course load in order to get the 40 credits. But what you have to deal with to get those 40 credits is a nightmare because you have to navigate a series of landmines in a toxic environment where you have to deal with the apathy of the teachers and the counselors and the principal, and you also have to deal with these wilding out others, teenagers, especially those who come from single parent homes and are only there to focus on social matters like who's dating who. And when you're trying to focus on getting your grades and trying to learn, these people can make your life a living hell. So oftentimes, a lot of kids, they have a hard time in high school because they have no real support in the public high school system. So a lot of kids, especially black kids, they come into the high school system and they want to go out here and get the grades, but it's hard to get grades when you have people who want to threaten you, pull weapons on you, and even put hands on you. And that makes it where you don't really want to come to school because you're fearing for your safety, and it makes it hard for you to concentrate on trying to get good grades because you're worried about whether somebody's going to attack you, and you're worried about whether somebody has an issue with you for absolutely no reason. And this is some of the things I ran into when I attended Park West High School back from 1987 to 1990. And when I first came there, I wanted to try to go out here and try to work towards winning awards and trying to go to the level of excellence, but I ran into a lot of people who were starting with me because I didn't have a girlfriend. And it makes it really hard to go out here and try to achieve anything when you're in these public schools because many of these males and females, again, their head is not in the game, and they're not really focused on getting the 40 credits that you're supposed to get in order to get the diploma, and they can get in your way. And what also exacerbates things is you have a series of indifferent teachers who really don't give you guidance and support, because all they're looking to do is get a paycheck, and they're not really concerned about a student taking themselves to another level academically. It's just about them meeting these Department of Education or Board of Education guidelines, and them doing the minimum in order to reach the finish line for their pension. So many teachers really don't give the kids support, and that's why many kids wind up just giving up by doing things like passive aggressive, like cutting class, where passively they go to school, but aggressively they just wind up cutting the class, or they just don't put in the work like they want to, because they're just afraid and anxious that somebody is going to go and get them after school or during school for acting so-called white. And sometimes this can lead, a lot of kids get discouraged because they wind up failing a class. And in the public school system, in order to get these credits, you have to pass one class to get to the next class, and that can make it very hard for a kid. And I had a lot of those, again, issues in the first year I went to Park West, and I missed a lot of days because I was dealing with anxiety as related to my experiences in junior high school, because I didn't want to be bothered with all of the harassment and stuff. So I know what it is to miss out on credits, and what happens to a lot of kids is they miss out on a lot of credits as related to the 9th and 10th grades, because they're still trying to deal with the traumas of the junior high school experience. But what happens is this compounds the problems they have later on when they're trying to go to high school, because in order to graduate high school, you have to have the right 40 credits, and you have to have credits that follow a sequence. For example, you have to take sequential math 1 in order to be able to get 2 of the 4 credits for sequential math. So you have to pass sequential math 1, sequential math 2, sequential math 3, and sequential math 4 in order to get the math credits. And I wound up in a situation where I had sequential math 1 and 3, but I could never get 2 or 4. But you could substitute other classes, but it was still a rough road, because it was hard to get past the math classes, because I wasn't prepared to understand things like certain concepts in algebra in junior high school. So it was harder to take those advanced concepts in high school. And with other kids, they will pass English 1, but then they won't pass English 2. But you need English 1 through 8 in order to meet the credit requirements in order to get the 40 credits to graduate high school. And you also would need several science credits back to back. You would need Science 1, Science 2, you would need biology, zoology, chemistry. You would need all of these together, and you would also need 7 credits of gym class, and you would also need several elective classes. And it can be a major challenge to get these credits all in the right sequence, because when you're dealing with failed classes and a war zone environment where you're dealing with toxic individuals, this can make it very hard for a kid to try to achieve all of those 40 credits in sequence. So I understand a lot of the struggles a lot of kids had, because I had those struggles myself. And I also had, in addition to those struggles, dealing with these out of control individuals who made the classroom a war zone and apathetic teachers. You also have to deal with these guidance counselors and grade advisors who are supposed to set up your schedule, but in some cases are looking to set you up for failure. Now, I remember back in 1989 when I was at Park West, when I had a meeting with my grade advisor at the time, and this white woman practically was just so apathetic that she just practically made it where I had no hope of graduating. I mean, I had gone into a program called the SOAR program before the year before that, and I had managed to take American History 1 and American History 2, but they were trying to tell me that those credits didn't count because they were so-called SOAR classes, but I was told by the SOAR people they were American History classes, and they also were trying to make it where my credits were completely messed up. And she was trying to say that I would have to repeat all of these classes I already took again, and had made it to the point where she had practically written me off, to the point where she thought I was never going to finish school. And when I had that situation happen to me, I went and prayed to God to change my life. I'd been praying for a while for that situation, and things happened, and I wound up leaving Park West and going to Taft. And when I went to the Taft High School in the Bronx, which was considered another one of the worst high schools in New York, that's when I started to change my mindset, and that's when I really started to get serious about working towards getting my high school diploma. Because at that point, when I was at Park West, I really thought about just dropping out of school and walking away from the entire school experience, because I was just absolutely tired of dealing with all of these toxic individuals, whether it be these sex-obsessed beta males who kept harassing me about having a girlfriend, these females who were looking to cause trouble for me, or these teachers who were apathetic, or the grade advisor who had practically written me off. I wanted to just walk away from the whole public school experience and just try to figure out where I wanted to go in the job market as best I can, because I was just tired of dealing with the crazy people. And that's one of the reasons why I have anxiety issues today, because you have to deal with so many toxic people. But that's even worse when you're in a public high school, because you have to also deal with that, and then you're trying to get these 40 credits in sequence. But when I went to Taft High School, I decided, instead of trying to trust all of these toxic people, I decided to take my education in my own hands. And it took me 3 years. It took me 2 regular years in high school and a third extra year to get all my credits straight. And I had to push all the way hard in order to get those right 40 credits. And thankfully, in June of 1992, I was able to march to get that high school diploma, and I had to again fight to get that diploma, and it was a major struggle to get that diploma. Now, I know a lot of kids out here, they get really discouraged because they run into a lot of these landmines, and they run into a lot of these, again, apathetic counselors and apathetic teachers. And many of these people, they want to steer children, especially black children, towards a GED. But going on the GED route is not really a good one. If you have to do it, yeah, I would say if you feel like you have to do it, you can do it. Don't do it, but you have to hang in there. And that's what I advise people to do, because a high school diploma has a higher value than a GED. I mean, a GED is just a lot of tests and stuff, but a high school diploma shows a lot of grit and determination, and it shows that you can, perform at an academic level that is considered a standard for most colleges and most trade schools and your U.S. military, because you need a high school diploma in order to be able to go out here and get one of those types of training. And while I, again, have soured on college because it's a consumer product, you really do need the high school diploma to lay that foundation in order to enter the skilled trades and to go out here and do something like U.S. military service. And I say, again, it's a tough road, but you have to hang in there, because a high school diploma is worth it. And I'm glad that, thank God, that I was able to get my high school diploma in 1992. And I'm grateful to have had that high school diploma. I had to fight to get that high school diploma, but I have it right now. And it's one of those things that I'm grateful to have as related to my education. But most people, especially a lot of the boomers out here, they don't really appreciate how hard it is to get one of these diplomas, and the struggle that a lot of youngsters face, because I've run into many people on Facebook who have sat down and told me how they had a hard time trying to get their high school diploma because of the environment the kids have to deal with, like these apathetic and hostile teachers who practically give up on them, these guidance counselors who won't give them the classes that they need in order to get the credits that they need, and many of these principals who practically go out of their way to punish children, especially black children, because many of these people have a bias towards black children, and they believe in many of the racist stereotypes that are presented in the media about black children. And a lot of the white teachers, white principals, and white guidance counselors, many of these people, instead of helping black children, they discourage them from trying to achieve excellence because they don't believe they can do their best or be their best. So instead of trying to encourage them to persevere, they will try to steer them towards getting a GED, because getting a GED means that they can write that kid off and not be accountable for that child, and they can't be accountable for what happens to that child, and they don't have to be having to deal with administrators making them have to take responsibility for that child. Because whenever a kid drops out of the public school system, what happens is once they go on the GED road, that means that that principal and the people who work in that school are no longer responsible for that child. So what happens in that case is administratively they are no longer accountable once they put you on a GED path, and they don't have to take any sort of accountability for many of your struggles in high school. So they don't really want to see you go out here and keep staying on the diploma road, because they want to be able to write you off so they can meet these numbers as related to the quotas that they have been given by administrators. So, and when it comes down to these public high schools, they oftentimes again have a lot of people on staff who are not working in your best interest. And that was something I found out the hard way when I was going to Park West High School from 1987 to 1990, and basically trying to navigate that prison yard all by myself. And as I learned how to navigate that prison yard, sadly, I had to learn that if I wanted to get my education, I had to take my education in my own hands, because these administrators weren't really interested in whether I got a diploma or not. All they were thinking about was their own retirement at the end of everything, and they were willing to write me off so that they could go out here and be able to say, oh, this person is gone, so we no longer have to be responsible or accountable for their education, even though they were hired and paid to make sure that I was supposed to get the right credits and get those 40 credits. They didn't really care about me getting those 40 credits, so I had to go out here and take things into my own hands. And that's something I tell every kid now out here. You have to take your education in your own hands from day one, and the best time to take your education in your own hands is at the junior high school or the elementary school level, because many of these teachers are not going to take your education seriously. And if you want to get that high school diploma, you're going to have to fight for it, and you're going to have to deal with a lot of apathy, indifference, and next to no support. But that high school diploma is an important thing to have, and you have to keep fighting and hang in there. I know it's really rough sometimes when it comes down to these public high schools, but if you have to leave one school to go to another, it's the best thing for you, because it's I know a lot of these schools are very toxic environments, because a lot of these laws tell these kids they have a right to an education, and these people from the single parent homes, they like to terrorize people and really keep people from getting their education, because in between them and the administrators and the teachers, it can become really hard to try to get that education. But you have to hang in there and try to get those 40 credits, because that high school diploma is the foundation in order to go out here and be able to start any sort of career. So I advise everybody to understand that yes, you face a lot of obstacles as related to high school diplomas, but you have to hang in there because it's something that you really need. And I know that, again, a lot of these teachers and advisors, they try to steer you towards the GED, but a GED is not the same as a high school diploma. And a GED, it really does not help you be able to go out and do things like go to a college. It may possibly get you into a trade school or a military career, possibly, but usually they want high school diplomas, especially for branches of the military like the Air Force and the Marines. You might get into the Army or the Navy, but don't let anybody discourage you from being able to do what you need to do, because if they can discourage you here, then it's going to be hard to go out here and do more. But the whole thing is, if you have to go 5 years in high school, go 5 years. If you have to go 6 years, but don't give up on your diploma, and don't ever give up on your academic pursuit for excellence. And if I can go out here again and do this after a brain aneurysm at 7 years old and being, in high school for 5 years and go on to write 75 plus books, then it's a message to everybody that, you can go out here and achieve excellence, and don't give up on yourself, because you can go out here and be truly great if you go out here and can persevere and push in the face of adversity. Don't let anybody steer you towards a road of second best towards a GED, when you can go out here and be excellent and have your own high school diploma. Now, if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct publications, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, or the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, you can buy all those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella. Discover the dark side of love in this goth and lovely romance with Spinsterella. Get Spinsterella in paperback and e-readers at your favorite online bookseller today.